For 8 years, Elena Martinez had captured perfect wedding moments through her camera lens, creating beautiful memories for hundreds of couples. But during the Ashford-Sterling wedding at the Ritz-Carlton, her trained eye caught something in the background that made her blood freeze, a glint of metal from a hotel window that shouldn't be there. What the wedding guests didn't know was that Elena had spent 6 years as a surveillance specialist for the CIA, and she recognized the telltale signs of a sniper scope when she saw one. The target wasn't the bride or groom, it was Senator Richardson, seated in the front row. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Before we begin this incredible story of a wedding photographer whose gentle lens once tracked the world's most dangerous targets, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe that true protectors watch over us through the most unexpected eyes, hit that subscribe button and share this story to honor those who see threats we never notice. Elena Martinez adjusted her camera settings as she surveyed the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton, Chicago. At 34, she'd built a reputation as one of the city's premier wedding photographers, known for capturing those fleeting moments that made couples cry when they saw their albums months later. "Elena," called Sarah Ashford, the bride, rushing over in her flowing white gown. "I'm so nervous. What if I mess up the processional?" Elena smiled warmly, lowering her Canon 5D Mark IV. "You won't mess up anything. Just focus on James waiting for you at the altar. I'll handle everything else." The Ashford-Sterling wedding was Elena's biggest booking of the year, a society affair with 300 guests, politicians, business leaders, and Chicago's elite. The kind of event that could establish her photography business for years to come. As guests filled the ballroom, Elena moved through the space with practiced efficiency, checking angles, lighting, and sight lines. Her trained eye automatically cataloged details: exit points, security cameras, guest positions, potential obstacles, old habits from another life. For 6 years, Elena had been Operative Martinez, CIA surveillance specialist attached to the Counterterrorism Center. She'd tracked targets through crowded markets in Kabul, photographed weapons transfers in Belgrade, and documented terrorist meetings in places that didn't appear on any tourist maps. But that life had ended 3 years ago when a mission in Prague went wrong. Too many civilians caught in crossfire, too many faces that haunted her dreams. Elena had requested immediate transfer to inactive status and disappeared into the anonymity of civilian life. Now she captured love stories instead of intelligence photos. "Elena, we're about to start," whispered the wedding coordinator. "The senator just arrived." Senator William Richardson took his seat in the front row, exactly where Elena had been told he'd be positioned. As ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, his presence at the wedding made sense. He was an old family friend of the Ashfords. Elena raised her camera and began shooting the processional. The ceremony began flawlessly. Elena moved silently along the edges of the ballroom, her telephoto lens capturing intimate moments between guests, the nervous energy of the groomsmen, the tears in the mother's eyes. But something felt wrong. Elena's CIA training had taught her to read environments, to spot anomalies that others missed. As she scanned the room through her viewfinder, her instincts prickled with unease. The man in the gray suit near the back wasn't watching the ceremony. His eyes were tracking movement patterns, noting security positions. The woman by the side entrance kept checking her watch and looking toward the hotel's upper floors. Elena lowered her camera and studied the ballroom more carefully. 3 guests had positioned themselves at strategic points that provided clear sightlines to Senator Richardson. Their body language suggested coordination, professional awareness. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Elena glanced down, and her blood chilled. Weather pattern Delta. Execute on signal. That was a CIA operational code she hadn't seen in 3 years. Someone was using classified federal communications at a civilian wedding. Elena immediately activated an emergency protocol she'd hoped never to use, sending a coded message to a secure number. The response came within seconds. "Cover compromised. Multiple assets in play. You are primary observer." Through her camera's telephoto lens, Elena began photographing the suspicious guests while appearing to capture normal wedding moments. Her hands moved with muscle memory, adjusting settings for surveillance documentation rather than romantic portraits. That's when she saw it. In the viewfinder, Elena caught a reflection from a window in the hotel's north tower, a brief flash of metal that lasted exactly 2 seconds. Most people would have dismissed it as sunlight on glass. Elena knew better. She'd seen that specific type of reflection dozens of times during her CIA years. Sniper scope. Someone had positioned a long-range rifle with a clear shot into the ballroom, and the scope was aimed directly at the front row where Senator Richardson sat applauding the bride and groom. Elena's training kicked in automatically. She calculated distance, approximately 400 meters, wind conditions, minimal indoor target, and sight lines, perfect elevation advantage. Professional setup. Her secure phone vibrated with an incoming call. "Phoenix 7, this is Control," came the familiar voice of her old handler. Elena hadn't heard her operational call sign in 3 years. "Control, this is Phoenix 7. I have eyes on probable sniper targeting Senator Richardson at civilian wedding." "Confirmed, Phoenix 7. Intelligence indicates coordinated assassination attempt. Senator's protective detail has been compromised. You are only federal asset in position." Elena's mind raced. What's the target profile? Unknown actors using stolen CIA communication protocols. Multiple shooters probable. You are authorized to engage with full operational authority. "Control, I'm a wedding photographer now. I don't have tactical equipment." "Phoenix 7, you have something better. You have a camera that can see what they don't expect anyone to notice." Elena ended the call and assessed her situation. 1 confirmed sniper, unknown number of hostile assets in the ballroom, 300 civilian witnesses, and a high-value target who didn't know he was about to die. She'd been trained for exactly this scenario, just never at a wedding. Elena's demeanor shifted as her CIA training engaged completely. She continued moving through the ballroom, appearing to photograph the ceremony while actually conducting tactical surveillance. Through her telephoto lens, she tracked the 3 suspicious guests. Gray suit was watching the ceremony entrance, probably security for the operation. Woman by the side door was monitoring communications, small earpiece visible when she turned her head. The third man, positioned near the band, had his jacket tailored to conceal a weapon. Elena zoomed in on the hotel's north tower and caught another scope reflection. The sniper was still in position, waiting for something. Her camera's timestamp showed 3:47 p.m. The ceremony was scheduled to end at 4 p.m., followed by cocktail hour. Based on the operational setup, the hit would happen during the recessional, when Senator Richardson would stand and move toward the reception area. Elena had 13 minutes to prevent an assassination. She used her photographer's mobility to move closer to the senator's position while maintaining her cover. Wedding photographers were invisible. Guests expected them to be everywhere, capturing every angle. As she approached the front row, Elena's trained eye caught something that made her stomach drop. The woman seated next to Senator Richardson, Mrs. Ashford, the bride's mother, was wearing a small communications device disguised as a hearing aid. The assassination wasn't being conducted by outsiders. Someone in the wedding party was coordinating the hit. Elena continued photographing while processing this new intelligence. Mrs. Ashford was perfectly positioned to signal the sniper when Senator Richardson moved into the kill zone. The gray suit, side door woman, and armed man weren't outside operatives. They were protective assets for the assassination team. Through her viewfinder, Elena watched Mrs. Ashford touch her earpiece twice. In the hotel tower, a window briefly opened and closed. Signal confirmed. Elena's secure phone buzzed with a message. "Phoenix 7, local law enforcement response is 20 minutes out. Can you delay the ceremony?" Elena looked around the ballroom. The officiant was asking for the rings. The ceremony was almost over, and Senator Richardson would be standing and moving within minutes. She couldn't delay the ceremony without blowing her cover and alerting the assassination team. But she could do something else. Elena Martinez, wedding photographer, moved to capture the perfect shot of the ring exchange. Operative Martinez, CIA surveillance specialist, prepared to disrupt a coordinated assassination using nothing but a camera and skills she'd hoped never to need again. Elena positioned herself with a clear sight line to both the ceremony and the hotel's north tower. As the officiant pronounced James and Sarah husband and wife, Elena made her move. Instead of photographing the kiss, she aimed her telephoto lens directly at the sniper's window and triggered her camera's high-powered flash in rapid succession. 12 bursts of light that would temporarily blind anyone looking through a scope. The reaction was immediate. The window in the north tower slammed shut, breaking the sniper's sight line. Gray Suit pulled out his phone, speaking urgently. Mrs. Ashford touched her earpiece repeatedly, clearly receiving conflicting signals. "Ladies and gentlemen," the officiant announced, "I present Mr. and Mrs. Sterling." The ballroom erupted in applause as the newlyweds began their recessional. Senator Richardson stood and moved toward the center aisle, exactly as the assassination plan had anticipated. But Elena was ready. As the senator moved into what would have been the kill zone, Elena stepped directly into his path, appearing to photograph the celebrating couple while actually placing her body between Richardson and the sniper's position. "Excuse me, Senator," she said quietly. "Could you stay exactly where you are for just one more moment? I want to capture you congratulating the couple." Richardson smiled and stopped moving. "Of course, young lady. Take all the time you need." Elena raised her camera and pretended to adjust settings while actually scanning for the backup plan she knew was coming. She found it. The armed man near the band was moving closer to Senator Richardson's position. His jacket was open, hand near his concealed weapon. With the sniper neutralized, the operation was shifting to close-range assassination. Elena's mind calculated distances and timing. The gunman was 15 feet away and closing. Hotel security was nowhere to be seen, probably compromised. Local law enforcement was still minutes out. Elena had to choose between maintaining her cover and saving a man's life. She chose. "Senator Richardson," Elena said calmly, still holding her camera. "In about 5 seconds, please drop to the ground and stay down." The senator looked confused. "What?" "Trust me. 5, 4, 3. Elena stepped away from Richardson while simultaneously triggering her camera's flash directly into the approaching gunman's eyes. The unexpected burst of light caused him to flinch and stumble, throwing off his timing. 2, 1, down. Senator Richardson, trained by years of security briefings to follow protective commands, dropped immediately. Elena moved with the fluid precision of her CIA training, using her camera's heavy telephoto lens as an improvised weapon to strike the gunman's wrist as he drew his pistol. The weapon clattered across the marble floor as wedding guests screamed and scattered. "Federal agent!" Elena shouted, her voice carrying the authority of 6 years protecting national security. "Everyone stay calm and move toward the exits." Elena's announcement triggered immediate chaos, but also revealed the coordination of the assassination team. Gray Suit and the woman by the door immediately began moving toward the exits, not in panic, but with the purpose of trained operatives extracting from a blown operation. Elena couldn't pursue them while maintaining security on Senator Richardson, who was still prone on the floor, protected by her position. "Senator, stay down until I give you the all-clear," Elena instructed, her camera now hanging by its strap as she scanned for additional threats. Mrs. Ashford was speaking urgently into her concealed communicator, probably calling off the operation. Elena realized the woman wasn't going to run. She was going to try to salvage the mission by eliminating the witness who disrupted everything. Elena saw Mrs. Ashford reaching into her purse and knew exactly what was coming. "Mrs. Ashford," Elena called out clearly, "please step away from your purse and place your hands where I can see them." The bride's mother looked up with surprise that quickly shifted to calculation. "I'm sorry. Who are you to give me orders at my daughter's wedding?" Elena smiled with the same warmth she'd shown the nervous bride an hour earlier. "Someone who's very good at seeing things that don't belong in the picture." Mrs. Ashford's hand froze halfway to her purse as FBI agents flooded into the ballroom, followed by Senator Richardson's actual protective detail, who immediately surrounded their principal. Special Agent Davis approached Elena with professional courtesy. "Agent Martinez, thank you for maintaining security. How did you identify the threat?" Elena looked around the ballroom, where the newlyweds stood in shocked confusion, their perfect wedding turned into a federal crime scene. "Professional habits," she said simply. "Some things you never stop seeing." 2 hours later, Elena sat in the hotel's security office reviewing the events with FBI investigators. The sniper had been arrested attempting to leave the North Tower. Mrs. Ashford and her 3 operational assets were in federal custody. Senator Richardson was safe and grateful. Agent Martinez, Special Agent Davis said, "Your surveillance work prevented what our analysis suggests would have been successful assassination of a sitting U.S. senator. The agency wants to discuss reactivation." Elena shook her head. "I appreciate the offer, but I like my current job." Photographing weddings? Elena smiled, thinking of Sarah and James Sterling, whose perfect day had been shattered by violence they'd never understand. Creating beautiful memories for people who deserved them. What about today? This wasn't exactly a beautiful memory. Elena looked at the photographs on her camera's display, images she'd captured during the ceremony before everything went wrong. The bride's radiant smile, the groom's nervous laugh, the parents' proud tears. "Today I made sure Sarah and James get to have a lifetime of beautiful memories together," she said. 2 days later, Elena received a package with no return address. Inside was a challenge coin bearing the CIA's Counterterrorism Center insignia and a simple note: "For seeing what others miss. A grateful nation." She placed the coin in her camera bag next to the lens caps and memory cards. 3 weeks later, Elena stood in another hotel ballroom photographing another wedding. The McCarthy O'Brien celebration was smaller, quieter, filled with teachers and nurses and people who'd never need federal protection. "Elena," the bride whispered, "thank you for making everything so perfect." Elena smiled, adjusting her camera settings as the ceremony began. "It's what I do." But as she moved through the reception, Elena's trained eye continued to scan faces, read body language, note anomalies. Some habits never faded. Her secure phone remained in her camera bag, silent but ready. Elena Martinez had found peace in her civilian life, but Operative Martinez would always be watching. Because sometimes the person capturing your perfect wedding day is also the person making sure you live to see your anniversary. Through her viewfinder, Elena watched a young couple share their first dance as husband and wife, surrounded by family and friends who had no idea how precious these ordinary moments really were. She raised her camera and captured the shot. Perfect moment, perfect protection, perfect cover. 6 months after the Ashford wedding incident, Elena received a call from Sarah Sterling. "Elena, I know our wedding was complicated, but when I look at the photos you took before everything happened, I see the most beautiful day of my life. Would you consider photographing my sister's wedding next spring?" Elena smiled, looking at the wall of her studio where dozens of wedding photos showed couples at their happiest moments, moments she'd helped protect without them ever knowing. "I'd be honored," she said, "because sometimes the greatest act of love is keeping someone safe enough to experience joy." Elena Martinez clocked in for another wedding that weekend, her camera bag containing everything she needed to capture perfect moments and everything she hoped never to use again. But if dangerous people tried to steal someone's perfect day, they'd discover that the woman behind the camera had once spent 6 years making sure the good guys could see the threats that hide in plain sight. The lens that captures your wedding kiss might be the same lens that once tracked international terrorists. The photographer asking you to smile for the camera might be the reason you're alive to smile. Elena never told her couples about her other life. She just made sure their love stories had happy endings. Because that's what guardians do. They stay focused on protecting what matters most. And sometimes what matters most is simply the right to be happy, surrounded by people you love on the most important day of your life.